Everybody to the season 4, round 4, 5. Rounds a little bit thrown off, but season 4 of the ZOR EU tier. This is the Netherlands GP at Zandvoort. Smaller lobby today, about 14, 15 drivers, but it's going to be a good race nonetheless. So hopefully we'll get all loaded in just a minute and get started with qualifying. Alright, looks like everybody's in and ready to go. Overcast skies for qualifying today. If you caught either of the other ZOR races from this week here, Tier 1 on Monday, Tier 2 on Thursday, Tier 2 had a wet weather affected race for the entirety of the race. Started on full wet conditions, heavy rain, switched to light rain halfway through. And Tier 1 on Monday was a kind of a war of attrition with a lot of drivers retiring and some safety cars. So new track this year. It's very, very challenging. A lot of banked corners, that very distinctive part of this track. Just going to pull up all of this good stuff and we will get ready to go. But yeah, the banked corners very distinctive on this track. Very unusual to see a Formula One circuit with that sharp of banking, especially through the final corner and through turn, I believe it's 4, but a few distinctive elements, presents a new challenge. It's a very fun track to drive, very fast. Quite a challenge, but a very rewarding one for the drivers. So it being a new circuit to F1, I would expect a pretty unpredictable race and very entertaining one. So we will follow along board here with Gomez Ovega, as he is the first driver who's going to be setting a lap. So we'll follow along with him and get to know the track a little bit. He is going out on softs. We'll discuss strategy in a little while, but for now let's just enjoy this lap. Long straightaway. You have that nice banking from the final corner to launch you down and then into turn 1. A little bit of a banking here. He's going to switch to the left, and then this is one of the most challenging corners on the circuit. Very sharp banking, very easy to lock up the left front. He does a good job not to there. Some windy corners now to two very challenging blind right-handers. Does a good job putting it through the first one. Let's see, does a good job carrying speed through the second one. Now he's braking for this right-hander. Ooh, he goes in very deep there. That's going to cost him a couple tenths. Switching back over to the left for this very long, slow left-hander. Patience is necessary in that corner. Opening the DRS as he finishes the second sector. Now braking for this right-left. Can take a little bit more curve than he took there. This is once again a very challenging corner. You got to be very patient there, and then really commit through these final two corners to get as much speed as you can. Very easy to invalidate. He does well not to run wide there. The extreme banking of that final corner, runs out of the DRS as he's going to cross the line, and he sets a 109.9. So that's a pretty good lap time to start out with. Fuzz goes 109.7 right behind him. If you watched either of our other tiers this week, as Andre Sousa also goes 109.9, RC a 110.2. A lot of people putting in some times in the high 9s right now. If you watch either of our other tiers, Tier 1, Pole was a 108.6 and Tier 2 was a 109.4. So those are some numbers to keep in mind as Bet goes 109.6. So some very quick lap times being set already, and for a lot of these drivers that's going to be as Backbones goes 110.0 on the medium. So for a lot of these drivers, their first run, we see a mix of medium and softs. You can make a one-stop strategy here, qualifying on the softs, and switch to hard tires. Medium to hard is a pretty good strategy as well. Some yellow flags, as it looks like maybe there was a little bit of lap traffic for people who've maybe completed laps, getting out of the way, slowing down. So good on them for making that space. So yeah, some good lap times being set so far. I would imagine most people are, especially with tires people have gone on so far, I'd imagine most people are going to be qualifying on the softs. But you never know, if you can sneak into the top 10 on the medium and it's going to be a dry race, then that could give you a pretty good advantage. But looks like most of the drivers have gone out and set their laps so far. Let's see what Adri has as he's rounding the final corner to start his lap. Top 4 drivers as he's going down this main straight. We'll just say top 4 drivers in the 9s, all on the softs. A handful of drivers in the 10s are on the mediums. RC set a time low 10.2. But I would imagine a lot of people are going to be shooting to be in the 9s. Probably some people are going to be dipping into the 8s as well at the end of the session. So good times to be set so far. Adri looks like he's got a pretty good Sector 1 going on. Really committed through there. Looks like he maybe has compromised a little bit on entry. He goes purple through the first sector, so maybe not. Ooh, a little bit of a wobble there and a lockup as he goes into that right-hander. That was a very easy place to lose the car if you're not careful, but he did a good job there to save it. That long left-hander requires a lot of patience, and then really need to be confident on traction heading into that DRS zone. Another little bit of a lockup there, so you can tell how hard he's pushing for his lap time. As he's setting around the final corner now. That bait corner is so easy to take flat in these cars with the downforce. And he goes into 8th place, 110.4. Let's see who else is. Looks like Janet is finishing up a lap here, so we'll see what he can do. He's still on those medium tires. He might be coming in. Nope, he's finishing up. Let's see if he can improve after he loses a little bit of fuel. And he goes 2/10 faster, purple through Sector 3, so good job for him. Looks like one of the Ferraris is set to cross the line. Oh, no, he's only coming in the box, so... or sorry, Pusco. Moving out of the way here for... that looks like it's Adri. Or not Adri, Fuzz, excuse me. So Fuzz on the outlap, let's see what he's got in store for us. This is the part of the session after some people have set their first time, some people are waiting a little bit longer. You can run into quite a bit of lap traffic here, so it's going to be important for people to move out of the way and provide space when they can. A little bit of a lock up there. It's so easy to lock up there. That front left tire is under a lot of stress there under the banking. And then the front left tire also takes a beating through these two fast right-handers as Fuzz goes a little bit wide there. Has a little puff of gravel smoke coming up there. Really tricky braking zone. He does well to get the car rotated. I think he's turned off his ERS, so he might be... yep, saving up or something. He might have had to abort that lap for some reason or another. Few drivers down the list still yet to set times as we see yet another lockup into that tricky banking of, I believe, turn 4. As Puppet Master goes a 109.3, so he's on provisional pole as they sit right now. It's a very good time. Let's see, he did that lap on the soft, so most drivers have set their best lap on the softs. I would imagine that that's what most of them will try to do. Good lap from him. Let's see what Beck can do as he's entering or finishing up that second sector. Ooh, a big lock up there, big puff of smoke as he's going around. Ooh, and he gets very wide there. A big wobble, but he does well to hold on to it. As Bag of Bones sets provisional pole now with a 109.2, so those times starting to creep down. We have a lot of drivers very close there with Bag of Bones, Puppet Master, and Zomoglis all in the very low 9s, and let's see if Beck can join them. Yellow flag in Sector 3, looks like everybody's okay. And Beck goes, doesn't look like he improved. Alright, so let's see what Zenith can do now. He set his first laps on the mediums. Ooh, bit of a mistake there as he's going on his out lap. Thankfully that was on his out lap and not his flying lap, and he's got time to turn the engine up and get everything sorted out before he gets going. Looks like a Red Bull's going slow in Sector 2. Hopefully that's just moving away for traffic. And it looks like he's on the move again now. A lot of yellow flags for people moving away for traffic. It's a very short lap. You see the lap times here. It's very similar to Austria, where you get a lot of lap traffic. You can really be kind of tripping over other people as you're trying to set your times. But Zenith looks pretty smooth through Sector 1 here. It's 4/10 down on his previous best. So that already puts him in the high 9s, with 2 sectors yet to go. Very long, sweeping left-hander, very satisfying corner when he gets it right, and it looks like he did a good job there. See how aggressive he's going to be under braking into the 3rd sector. Maybe he goes in a little deep. He couldn't get the car rotated as early for that left-handed as he might have wanted to. He's approaching these final corners now. It looks like a pretty tidy lap so far, except for that one mistake at the beginning of Sector 3. He's going to improve, let's see by how much. If he goes into a 109.8, so he's going to be, I would imagine he'll be able to improve on that time for his final run, but that moves him up into the top 10, so he's got to feel good about that. A lot of drivers looking like they're finishing up their 2nd run, maybe their 3rd. You can get 4 runs here because it is such a short lap. If you go quickly, you can get several runs in, so looks like we're seeing a lot of people taking advantage of that and trying a lot of runs. Adri's going to be starting his lap, so we'll follow along with him, see if he can improve and on his 110.0. A little bit of a lockup into turn 1. Thankfully got out before the Renault. Avoids a bit of traffic. This is the trickiest corner on mid-circuit, if you ask me. Ooh, big lockup there. In qualifying, a lockup's not going to damage you too much because you're really only caring about the 1 lap, but in the race, it's going to be really important to avoid lockups there because your front left can go off quickly. A little bit of smoke, or a little bit of dust kicked up there as he went wide on entry. It looks like he's holding it pretty well. Really throwing the car through there. Very committed as he locks up again. He's really pushing for some lap time here. Let's see how his first 2 sectors look. 3/10 up, so that would put him around 5th or 6th place. We'll see how much he can improve in this final sector. A little bit of dust because he went wide on entry yet again. It's pushing really hard on this lap. And he moves up to 6th place, a 109.7, so a good lap from him. He'll be pleased with that improvement, and he's still got time to go around and fit on another set of softs and go one more time. So it looks like got a few drivers who are kind of trying to pick a space to go out, and Puppet Master sets a 109.0. Very good lap from him. Definitely need to get on board for his final run. We're all on board with Gomez Olvega right now, who's in 10th place. He set a 109.9 on his first lap, so we'll see what he can do this time. Looks pretty clean there through that tricky left-hander as he goes up the hill. Looks like there's an Alfa Romeo stopped at the beginning of Sector 3. I wonder what that's about. We'll take a look at that in just a minute. Gomez has improved slightly through Sector 1. It's about 700th, so still some time to be found, but it's better than going backwards at least. It's pretty tidy through most of that 2nd sector. He found another 10th, so that's going to boost his confidence. Hopefully he can find another 10th in the 3rd sector. He did a pretty good job there, hugging a very tight line. Running a little bit wide, that's a very easy corner to invalidate. He does a very clean lap, a 109.5, so once again, he's got enough time if he works quickly to get back around and set another lap. Looks like Beck is on a flying lap, so we'll see how much he's improved after Sector 1. He's down on his previous time. He's not able to improve, but he's very close to it, so maybe if he pushes and commits that little extra bit through these last two sectors, he'll find that time he's looking for. Takes a lot of curve there. A little bit of a lockup. He's going to switch the car around, but that wouldn't hurt him too much. Improves a little bit by about 0.2, 0.17 seconds, give or take. He's got a 109.3. About 2 minutes left in the session. This is about the time that you want to be leaving the pits. For those drivers out on track right now, they might not get another chance. So even if he's Gomez, who just came into the pits right now, it's going to be a quick turnaround for him. Same for the Mercedes, who just came in. Looks like one of the Ferraris is starting their lap, so we'll follow along board with them and then catch some people as they're finishing their final laps. But for Pusco, 2014, he set a 109.8 on his first run. And let's see, he's been able to improve through Sector 1. Looks pretty tidy so far. Looks pretty smooth as he enters that double right-hander. He's found a 10th, a little over a 10th through the first two sectors. So he's going to be pleased with that, taking a lot of curb on entry there. He's been very aggressive. Picks up the throttle very early, runs right under the curb, does a good job not to lose traction there. He's found another 2/10, so he's down 3/10 on his best lap already as we enter that third sector. He's looking to move himself up into the top 10, as we kind of expected. A lot of drivers choosing to go with the softs. One stop still an option for drivers on the softs, so I'm not surprised to see a lot of them. And Pusco goes 109.3, so a very good lap from him. He found a lot of time in the third sector. We'll follow along with Puppet Master, who's on provisional pole right now. Through Sector 1, he looks pretty strong. Down a quarter of a tenth, so not too much time. He should be able to find a little bit more. He's going to be pushing hard to get that 108 lap time. Lost about another quarter of a tenth, so he's not able to improve yet, but there's still a whole last sector for him if he throws. Let's see how much he's going to throw the car in, how committed he's going to be. Looks pretty strong, but I don't think that's going to be the 10th he's looking for. I think he might be stuck at his 109.0. He goes 108.8, so as soon as I say that, the reverse commentator's curse. He improves by a couple tenths, so he found a lot of time in the third sector. Good for him as he goes 108.8. Let's see what Bag of Bones can do as he's going through the third sector. He's found a 10th, so he might be challenging if he can find a few more tenths through these last two sectors. Qualifying is over, so drivers who are on their last lap can finish it, but no new laps. Ooh! Bag of Bones with a big slide there. He was pushing a little bit extra hard there. Looks like Pusco is on an in lap. Let's see anybody else on a flying lap. Fuzz is going pretty aggressively. Doesn't have his ERS up, so he might not be on a flying lap. He might be on an in lap. Let's see if anybody else. Adri pressing hard. He locks up a little bit as he's entering the third sector, or finishing up the second sector rather. It's a little bit of grass there. He's a 10th down so far. Let's see how much he can move up into the top 10. Big lock up there. You really don't want him to be mounting that curve. It's going to slow you down a little bit. Oh, and he's pushing a little hard, and he is out of the session. So any drivers who are going to be finishing up their lap are going to have his car. Looks like most people have finished. Jinnit unable to break into the top 10. He's stuck at a 109.8, but he's going to be happy to be starting 11th on fresh tires, and it looks like that is pretty much everyone finished here. So, it appears to be qualifying over. Don't think anybody else is still on the lap, but Puppet Master is going to be on pole position. He's at a 1:08.8, 4/10 ahead of his nearest rival, so a great lap from him. He found a lot of time in the third sector on his run. Bag of Bones in second with a 1:09.2. Zamoglis also set a 1:09.2, but he's about 200ths behind Bag of Bones. Pusko, hope I'm saying that correctly, he's in fourth with a 1:09.3. Beck also set a 1:09.3. He's about a half a tenth behind the driver in fourth position. Fuzz set a 1:09.4. He's going to be in sixth. Gomez in seventh with a 1:09.5. Andre Sousa with a 1:09.6 is in eighth. Adri, 1:09.7 is going to be in ninth. WC96 Coxie, 1:09.7. He's going to be rounding out the top 10. Jinnit in 11th with a 1:09.8, so he's going to get that free choice of tire, which could prove very valuable as that race unfolds. If he chooses to start on the mediums or the hards, it can give him a huge advantage later in the race, so he's going to be pretty happy with his position. RC7, 110.2, so he's a little further behind Dylan with another 110.2. Crucio 111.0, Lit Romney in 15th with a 111.3, and Brandon, don't know what caused him not to set a time, but he's going to be in 16th, starting at the back of the grid with no time set. So, very entertaining qualifying session, a lot of action. We saw towards the end of that session, you can see just how hard drivers were pushing to find that lap time, and some pushed a little bit too hard and lost their laps because of it, but hopefully the race can live up to the excitement of this qualifying. I'm going to just take a quick look through the grid again. You can see great lap from Puppet Masters. He was able to find a ton of time in the third sector. He's 4/10 clear of Bag of Bones in second, but from Bag of Bones in second, or Bag O Bones rather, in second all the way down to Dylan in 13th, there's about 1 second that covers those drivers. So it's a pretty short lap time, but that is a very impressive margin. Just a tenth or two here or there, one lockup can really make a difference. So hopefully we'll see that competitive of a race as we did qualifying. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, if you tuned into either of our other tiers this week, Tier 2 on Thursday night had a wet race for the entirety of the race. It was heavy rain switching to light rain, and Tier 1 was dry throughout, so we saw two very different types of races. This appears to be dry so far. Always that chance of rain later in the session, but yeah, some really solid lap times were set. A lot of times in the mid to low 9s, which are very competitive. Would have taken pole for Tier 2. And just as we're getting ready to start the session here, and just drivers going to be doing their outlaps, we'll discuss strategy just a little bit. You can do a one stop here from the soft tires to the hard tires if you feel confident in your ability to stretch the hard tires. For the drivers outside the top 10, I would expect them to primarily start on the mediums, maybe the hards. I'd be surprised if any of them opted to start on the soft compound tires. One stop is possible. Two stop is not going to be, depending on safety car, depending on your gaps and where you come out in traffic. You can make a two stop work if you've got that clean air to be pushing. But the two stop, the risk, especially here with a short lap, is that it's going to be hard to build the gap to maybe a pack of drivers behind, or find a patch of clear air in order to get that two stop to work. And so as you can see, they're predictive for the one stop. I would expect that as well. So we'll take a look at the beginning. We'll look to see their position change, and just quickly looking at the tires, Jinnit, RC7, Dylan all choosing to start on the medium. So as we expected, that will give them a huge amount of options if there's an early safety car, or to run those mediums later in the race. Crucio starting on the hard, so he's going to be hoping to go pretty long into this race and maybe then switch on to the soft tires, and then Lit Romney and Brandon starting at the back. They've both chosen to go on the soft tires. Looks like we had a little bit of an incident with Andres Sousa and Andrew there. Both of them disqualified from the formation lap, but I'm sure they'll be back in time for the grid. Yeah, so one stop likely for the drivers in the top 10. If any of them get damage on the first lap, or if there's an early safety car, that can mix things up. And here, safety car, pretty likely to happen. It being a new track one, and with the tight nature of this track, a lot of walls close, safety car, I would expect to see one, which is going to switch up the strategy greatly. So we are going to find ourselves a good camera angle and enjoy the first lap of this Netherlands Grand Prix. Alright. The lights, there they go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All 5 lights are on. And away we go. It looks like a clean start from everybody. Puppet Master with a very good start. Looks like Bag of Bones had lost a little bit of ground, and he's gotten down a few positions. A little bit of a glitch here. This is not uncommon to see. It is Puppet Master in first. There is a yellow flag. Unclear what that's for. It looks like everybody's going quickly. We saw the Ferraris there. Ferrari, Fusco and Bag of Bones. Bag of Bones has not had a great first lap. He's going to be hoping to make up for that, but pretty clean getaway from everybody so far. No lap 1 damage, which is always or no lap 1 major incidents, which is always a good thing to see. As soon as we cross the timing lines now, we'll have a better idea of what the game looks like. But let's take a look and see what who was the big winners and losers of that lap 1. It looks like Fuzz was one of the drivers caught up in those lap 1 incidents, that lap 1 battling. And it looks like that's cost him quite a bit of time as he's lost 10 positions. Bag of Bones has recovered well up into 4th. He was a little bit lower than that a few sectors ago. Looks like we got another one of those glitches, but Puppet Master is in the lead. He's continuing the dominance that he showed in qualifying. Looks like we got another one of those glitches. Beck is not in first. He's battling hard. It is Puppet Master in first. Zamoglis behind him, pushing very hard. Pusco behind him. That gap is less than a second. So when DRS opens this next lap, it's going to be lap 3. DRS will open. That's going to be a tight battle. And from second, you can see there's less than a second separating about 4 or 5 positions. So a very tight battle there for those last 2 podium positions. Puppet Master doing a good job extending his lead. He's already gotten out of DRS of Zamoglis, so he's going to be really happy to be out there and away from that immediate threat behind. Once again, predicted pit stop strategy is a 1-stop soft to hard. You can make a 2-stop work, but you're going to have to work really hard on those medium tires. Bag of Bones. Looks like Gomez and Beck going side by side. That's a very dangerous place to be going side by side. Big lock up there from Beck as Gomez is following very closely. Let's see if he makes any moves. He's right on the gearbox of Beck in front. Both drivers on the soft tires looking to take advantage of the grip they're going to have at the beginning of the race. Ooh, maybe that was just an issue with the camera angle, but it looked like Gomez almost lost the car there, and he's lost a lot of time. It doesn't appear that he has any damage, but he has certainly lost a lot of time. Bag of Bones still pushing very hard to gain those positions back as he's less than half a second from the Ferrari in front. So Moglis has done a good job. He's extended his gap to 3rd position, and he is out of DRS as well. So the first drivers in first and second, both out of DRS from the driver behind, as Puppet Master sets another fastest lap. He was really enjoying that clear air. Bag of Bones not close enough there, so he has a little bit of a lockup, but this is going to be a position that he really wants to get back and start making some headway towards the Marbles if he wants to compete for that other podium position. Andre Sousa and Ginette going side by side as Sousa spins. He spins, he's pointing the wrong way. Ooh, a little bit of a dangerous maneuver there to spin the car right in the middle of the track, but he looks like he's got it turned back around, but his rear tires are going to be quite warm after that, as one of the... It looks like Bag of Bones had an incident and he's lost an end plate. So as we were watching Andre Sousa, it looks like Bag of Bones also went around and he's lost an end plate. So his race is going to be greatly affected now. I wonder what happened wonder if there was contact or whether it was just a mistake on his own. But he is going to have to pit if he's lost an end plate. I think that damage is a little bit too much to try and carry at least until the pit window. So it's Puppet Master out in front. He's enjoying a gap of almost 2 seconds to Zamagas behind, who once again has a gap of about 2 seconds to Pusco. And once again, I hope I'm saying that right, Pusco. In third position. Beck close behind him. Gomez close behind Beck. So those three drivers enjoying DRS, enjoying that a little bit of boost to straight line speed as Bag of Bones does come in to the pits. This is something that can happen around here. It's a track that can be pretty challenging to overtake at just due to the nature of the track. Some of those windy corners, difficult to get good exits when following behind cars, so you will start to see these DRS turns form, which might make it difficult for someone like Gomez to make an overtake if Beck in front of him has DRS, but hopefully Beck can make something happen. He looks like he's too far back on this occasion, and he might take a move going into turn one. It looks like he's lost quite a bit of his ERS. We'll go ahead and turn on the telemetry so we can see. He's using his overtake right now. Puppet Master once again extending his advantage out in front. He's really enjoying that clear. He's using all his overtake. Batteries completely depleted. Pusco does a good job defending there. He just put his car in just the right position. So you can see just from Beck and Gomez, both of them with very little battery left. They're pushing really hard to try to gain those positions. As we look down the rest of the field, the gaps are starting to emerge. Fuzz has got a gap of less than a second to Dylan, who's on slower tires, so that's going to be one to keep an eye out for. But out in front, it's pretty steady as they're going so far. Puppet Master and Zamagas, and then this battle for third is what we're watching right now. So looks like Fuzz is keeping that gap around 8, 9 tenths. He might be closing that gap up even more. He's going to want to take advantage of the soft tires now before they start to go off. Let's get back and check this battle for third, and you can see Ginette in sixth is not that far behind him. He is on the medium, so as the drivers in front from third through fifth are going to continue to battle, their tires are going to continue to slow down, and Ginette will have that little bit of extra durability, so he might be looking to enter that fight here in a few laps. But it's around lap 8 is about as early as you can get away with pitting, in my opinion. So it might be another couple laps, but I would expect those soft tires to start to feel some wear here pretty quickly, especially that front left, which takes quite the punishment through these two right-handers as well as a couple of the other braking zones. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. It looks like maybe Brandon is losing the front wing. No, he looks okay so far. Let's get back and watch this battle for third rather. Fuzz is closing up that gap to half a second, so we'll keep an eye on that. Most of the other gaps are starting to spread out a little bit. Adri in 7th is hoping to maybe, if he can stay in DRS and stay with that battle, he might be able to take a risk when it comes to the pit stops and gain himself some track position. So we'll keep an eye on what he chooses to do in regards to pits. It looks like Beck is going side by side around the outside, and he gets third position. So a great move from Beck. Very patient, a great job. It's a big lockup into turn 4, but a very good job staying patient and taking his opportunity when he got it. So he's going to be hoping that he can stretch that advantage from the cars behind. Fuzz is able to get by Dylan. Looks like he maybe got that move done through turn 4, somewhere in that first sector. So Beck is almost outside of a second as that gap just goes right up to a second, but it doesn't look like Pusko has DRS. Or no, he does. He does have that DRS open, but he's going to be struggling to keep up with Beck as that gap is now 1.3 seconds. So Beck hoping to cut into that lead in front, but Zamalis does have around 4.9 seconds, so almost 5 seconds. Beck also might be thinking about using the pit stops to try and gain him some time or some track advantages. Adri, let's see this battle as Adri's making a move inside into turn 1, and he takes advantage of the grip of those soft tires to brake later than Jinnit. But Jinnit, once again, I think he'd be pretty happy with his position in 7th on the mediums. There's a yellow flag in sector 1. Looks like Andre Sousa is pointing the wrong way, so that's the second time we've seen him pointing the wrong way. Oh! And a huge collision as Andre Sousa goes to get back on track, and he's run into Lit Romney, and looks like Lit Romney is lost an end plate, so he is not going to be happy about that. So Andre Sousa tried to get back on the circuit and did so right in the path of an oncoming car. That is surely going to be investigated later on. But looking ahead, as I was saying, Jinnit is going to be pretty happy with his position so far in 7th on the mediums. He's going to be one to watch. It looks like Mitt Romney has gone straight off. So, oh no, more trouble for Lit Romney as he and Brandon have it coming together, and that's caused a VSC. VSC is coming out, so Adri is going to be benefiting hugely. It looks like he probably was going into the pits already before the VSC came out, but he's going to be putting on the hard tires, and he's going to get a very, very good advantage from pitting under VSC. We'll see if that VSC is still going. The leaders now and everybody ahead of him in sector 1 and 2. So I don't see nope, VSC has ended, and Crucio has picked up a 5-second time penalty. So Adri and Fuzz both taking advantage. The McLaren's doing a good job taking advantage of that VSC and pitting. So they are going to be very happy with that. It'll be interesting to see now what kind of advantage that gives Adri as the other drivers on the softs start to box as well. So let's go to our leader as we see Lit Romney coming in for a pit stop. Wing change, I would imagine, and he might have to serve a penalty as well. But Puppet Master is going to stay out, so he thinks he's got another lap worth of life left in those soft tires. As there's a yellow flag, it looks like maybe Crucio has gone off in the first sector as Coxie picks up a 3-second time penalty for track limits. So now full safety car has come out. So looks like either Coxie or Crucio caused that full safety car. Don't know exactly what caused it, but there is a full safety car. So I would almost guarantee that Puppet Masters among us, Beck, Gomez, and Pusko will come in and box this lap, take advantage of the safety car for their pit stops. Happen to fall right in their pit window anyway. So unsure whether it was Coxie or Crucio who caused that safety car. We did see Coxie pick up a time penalty. Not sure if he then retired because of maybe if he had an off. Sure, we'll get that story from him after the race. as we see Puppet Master diving into the pits like we expected. I would imagine all those top 5 runners. Looks like Beck coming in, Gomez coming in, Pusco coming in. Thought maybe Zenith would come in. This is a track where, you know, the hard tires are going to last till the end, but he must think that he's got a chance to stay out on those mediums and gain some track position. See the top 5. Adri was able to gain a position over Gomez and Pusco due to that pitting under VSC, so he's going to be very happy with how that played out. He's going to be in a good position now in 5th to fight moving forward. A lot of drivers coming into box for the hards. Brandon put on the soft tires, so don't know if he had already used his hards or if it was just a mistake in selecting his tires, but he will certainly have to come in again. Fuzz was able to move up to 9th place because of that, but Zenith, the only one left to box on the medium tires, so as a lot of drivers deciding that safety car and being in the pit window to go onto the hards was the best choice they had. Zenith taking a gamble the other way, so maybe he's thinking there's going to be another safety car later on, or if he thinks those mediums have got enough life left to get a good enough gap to the drivers on the hards behind. But a lot still to play as we're a third of the way through this race. A few drivers who have had offs or maybe lapped going to be making their way. Safety car is going to stay out for one more lap, so we'll take a quick look down the field and see. There's position change. There we go, position change. So Zenith right now, because he is yet to pit, has been moved up into 1st place. Puppet Master is still in 1st of the drivers who are yet to pit. Zamoglis in 3rd. Beck in 4th. He's gained a position. Adri's gained 4. He's benefited greatly from pitting under that VSC. Gomez has gained a position. Pusco has been Adri the winner of that safety car in VSC period. Pusco looks like he might have been not as fortunate. Dylan has done a good job moving 5 positions up. Fuzz was at the end of the field after the first lap, but he's done a good job pitting under VSC to move up into 9th position. RC in 10th. Andre Sousa has lost a few positions, but he's going to be hoping to gain those back and get into the points. Bag of Bones, as we know, had an off, was forced to make an early pit stop, and he's pit again for the hards, so he's going to be going to the end of the race. Brandon and Nick Romney both have had a few incidents that they've been caught up in, and they will be hoping they can move forward. So that's the field as it is right now. We'll just take a little bit of a breather as the safety car looks like it's coming in this lap. So Jin's going to be preparing to lead them all away. He's going to choose his moment to go and pounce. Those medium tires will have life in them left for a little while as he gets some wheel spin as he's accelerating, and Puppet Master with a great restart. Puppet Master might get him down into turn 1. Was not able to, was just a little bit too far back. The Puppet Master all over the back. There's a ton of action as we move down the field. Huge lockup there. Pusco trying to get that position back on Adri. He's all over his gearbox. Zenith still leading out in front. He's got about 3/10. That gap is slowly going up to Puppet Master as they're going through those fast right-handers. So challenging to follow closely. A lot of drivers. Oh! As Pusco goes wide, picks up a time penalty, and looks like he's really struggling. So those hard tires, he might not have been able to get enough heat into them during that safety car. He's really struggling as Dylan and Fuzz are all over the back of him, and Andre Sousa getting into that battle as well. So Fuzz making a dive bomb. Great racing from everybody here, as there's some tense battles for position here. Up at the front, Zenith has extended that lead to over a second, so he's done a good job on those mediums, taking advantage of the life that they have left in him. Gomez very close to Zamaglis, so let's go up and check that battle. He's all over the back of him. Both of them pitting for hards under the VSC, so this is going to be a fight to the end for these two, it looks like. Puppet Master just clawing back a little bit. We'll see if he's got anything with the assistance of DRS, which should be opening on the next lap. We'll see if he's able to gain anything there, but he's still within half a second, so maybe there was an issue with the timing screen, or maybe he's just recovered from dropping off there after the safety car. But it's Zenith in first, yet to make a pit stop. Everyone behind him, with the exception of Brandon in 12th, is on the hard tires and looking to go to the end. So for Zenith, these laps with clean air are going to be crucial for him to gain as much time on those drivers battling behind, so that when he does come out, he doesn't lose too many positions. Big lock up there into turn 4. Apologies if it's not turn 4, but I can't remember my corner numbers very well. So Puppet Master's close. He might just choose to stick behind Zenith here in his DRS. Might not be a bad choice for him to just save up some fuel, save up some battery, so that when Zenith does pit, he's got some fuel he can use to build a gap to the drivers behind. So we might well just see him kind of settle in behind here and let Zenith punch a hole in the air for him. Looking down, Zamaglis is doing a good job to stay with those two drivers, and Gomez eager to get up into that podium positions as well, to a podium position as well. Two McLarens in 6th and 7th. Their gap is starting to expand a little bit, as Fuzz is having to do some defending from Bag of Bones and Pusco behind. So Pusco has not had the greatest restart. It looks like his Adri went wide on the entry to that final corner, and he's lost a lot of time going down the main straight. He's having to use a lot of his overtake to stay ahead. Fuzz pulling out of that slipstream, maybe thinking about a move, but not able to. But that gap has all but disappeared between Adri and his teammate behind. So the battle for 6th is very tight as both McLarens lock up. Fuzz almost making contact with his teammate. Bag of Bones might do well to just sit back and let those two McLarens battle. Looking ahead, the gaps at the front still around a second, so Puppet Master's actually taken the lead. Missed that with all the battling going on behind, but Puppet Master has taken the lead, and he's almost extended that gap to a second. So for Zamaglis and Gomez behind, they have a huge amount of urgency to get by Zenith and not let Puppet Master get too far away. So those are going to be some crucial overtakes to be making here, as Puppet Master, he took pole position by 0.4 of a second. He's continuing to show his enjoyment of this track here in the races. He's extended the gap to Zenith by over a second already. No DRS here, but as he sets another fastest lap, Puppet Master's just doing a fantastic job in this race today. Zamaglis trying to close up to his teammate. Don't know if team orders are on here, if they're free to battle, as the Mercedes were told they could during the race. The Belgian Grand Prix this morning, or this afternoon. Looking down, the gap to the McLarens is still around half a second. Bag of Bones is just kind of staying in the DRS of Fuzz in front and just biding his time there. Looks like Dylan is very close to the back of Andre Sousa as well. those two battling closely. Andre Souza has a lot of batteries, so it's going to be tough to overtake him. Really turn one and maybe into the start of the third sector there if you can stay close, but there's really not a lot of overtaking opportunities here, as Andre Souza almost has a full battery, so he's going to be able to deploy a lot of that as these laps continue. At the front of the field, Puppet Master still extending his lead, Zenith hanging on to second. Zimaglis is closely behind him. That gap is about 0.4 of a second, as we see once again drivers locking up into that very challenging banking of turn 4. Pusco. He's pit for medium tires after he had an off, it looked like. He set the fastest lap so far, so good job from his. Gomez gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, so that could be very costly. Not sure what the penalty... Oh, one of the McLarens is off. Looks like Adri has gone off. So don't know what's wrong with him, as he's DNF'd, so I don't know if he's got terminal damage or what's up with him. It's hard to get a good view of him as he's pulled off to the side there. Just a yellow flag so far, no safety car, no VSC. Either one of those I'm sure Zenith would greatly appreciate right now, as he's yet to make a pit stop and he's on those medium tires that he's been on for 19 laps, so he's likely, I would imagine, going to extend and then put on the soft tires at the end, so he might be one to watch in the closing moments of the race. But Zimaglis not able to get by him. I would expect now with those medium tires probably really feeling their wear, and the hard tires, which will last pretty comfortably for that 24 laps that drivers are going to be asking of them. I would expect Zimaglis to hopefully be able to make this overtake before too long. Maybe he's thinking Gomez behind has a penalty and he's just gonna hold on, not risk anything. But that off from Adri, don't know if there's maybe an issue with Bag of Bones because he's dropped back a little bit, or if he was trying to avoid something. But Dylan is still within a second of Andre Souza ahead of him. Andre Souza still managing to save a lot of his battery, making it very hard to overtake. He looks like he's missing an end plate, so that could be part of what's slowing him down. Might be worth boxing for him. He might be just waiting to see a few more laps if he can then go on to the soft tires to end the race. Don't know when he picked up that wing damage, but he's going to be certainly feeling that. Dylan should be pushing extra hard to see if he can get by, but you can see Andre Souza just locking up into so many corners, losing that downforce, really challenging as Brandon comes into pit. I kind of expected that, as he was on the soft tires after the safety car. Zimaglis still within about half a second, and half a second to Gomez behind him, of Zenith, who's in second position. 20 laps on those mediums for Zenith, I would imagine. His time to pit is going to be coming very soon. Looking down the rest of the field, gaps starting to form quite a bit as drivers have pitted, have had mistakes, have had to make multiple pit stops, but 13 drivers left. Closest battle on track at the moment is still for second position, or effectively second position in the race. Gomez does have a time penalty. I'm not sure. I don't believe I've seen any pop up for Zimaglis, but I could be wrong. But that battle for what is second right now on track for those three drivers, Zenith going to be making another pit stop. So the battle really between Gomez and Zimaglis, and if Gomez wants to finish ahead of Zimaglis, he's going to have to make an overtake and extend that gap to 3 seconds, or he's going to have to hope that Zimaglis picks up some penalties as well. So looks like he's got a fuel light blinking, so he might be not in a position to be using a lot of richer overtake right now. As we can see, his battery is starting to get pretty low as well. I think now is probably about the window that Zenith would expect the softs to be able to go to the end. You can get 12 laps out of them at the beginning of the race on full fuel. So I would imagine 14 laps on light fuel, especially if he's putting on a fresh set of tires, he should be able to do without too much problem. and he is going to be diving into the pits this lap, so I would imagine he's going to be putting on the softs. Does a very good job of slowing the car down, and he is going on to the softs. So we'll see where he comes out. That's going to be an interesting last few laps for him, as he's going to be on fresh softs and everybody else on hard tires that are going to be aging quickly. So he might be making quite a few overtakes in those closing laps, as he looks like he is coming out of the pits and crucially ahead of Dylan, so that's one fewer overtake, but he still has Andre Sousa with wing damage ahead of him that he's going to be having to overtake as well. As we were following along with Zenith here, give a quick rundown. Puppet Master is in first. He's got a gap of about 4 seconds to Zamaglis behind, so being, I wouldn't say stuck, but being unable to overtake his teammate has cost Zamaglis a few seconds here. It looks like that gap is starting to come down, so Zamaglis might have just been saving up battery and fuel to start closing that gap, as, oh, there's a huge contact between Andre Sousa and Zenith. Maybe not huge contact, but there was contact at high speed, which can always be a little bit tricky, as Andre Sousa, already with wing damage, might have picked up even more, and Zenith making that overtake. Tough to tell from that angle where there was space and where there wasn't, but Andre Sousa now certainly is going to be coming into the pits. I'd imagine fitting the soft tires to the end. Gomez Olvega still staying within a second of Zamaglis ahead, so he might have given up his hopes for second place and might be hoping Zamaglis can punch a hole through the air and he can hang on to third place, that final podium position. Beck in fourth on the hards. If he knows about Gomez's penalty, then he can just stay probably pretty comfortably within those 3 seconds, especially if he's able to close that up and get DRS. Fuzz in fifth, doing well after he had a bit of an incident on the first lap. Same with Bag of Bones, who was facing the wrong way at one point, and he's done a good job to get back up to 6th place here. Zenith, who started on the mediums and boxed later, he's just flying on those soft tires. He's almost a second ahead of his fastest lap as he's going to turn the third sector here, so I would imagine new fastest lap incoming for him. He's using up a lot of his overtake. I imagine he's probably putting in his bid for fastest lap. He crosses the line with a 1:11.4, so goes fastest by, I don't think anybody else has been into the 11s yet. I might have been mistaken, but I believe the fastest before that was a 12-something. So good job for him making that reverse strategy work, as well as picking up a point for fastest lap. And I would imagine, unless somebody pits again, that's going to be the fastest lap for the rest of the race. Looks like there's a Ferrari in Sector 1 stopped. Mitt Romney looks like he may have had a mistake through turn 1 and 2, and he has lost part of his wing, so he will probably come in and pit. But it's Puppet Master in first, gap of about 4.6 seconds. It stayed pretty stable for the last few laps. Zamaglis in second. He's going to feel pretty comfortable with Gomez behind him, who has picked up a 3-second time penalty for extending track limits. Beck about a second and a half behind. That gap has been pretty stable. Fuzz in fifth, Bag of Bones in sixth, Zenith in seventh, but he is going to be looking to move ahead as Gomez makes the overtake on Zamaglis. So I don't know if there was maybe a mistake or some damage or what, but Gomez did make that overtake, and he is going to be working very hard now to extend that gap. So that gap behind is going to be something to watch. Gomez doesn't have a lot of battery to fight with, nor a lot of fuel, so he might be struggling here to extend that gap to 3 seconds, especially as Zamaglis can stay in DRS. But that does throw off Beck's race a little bit. Now he might have him to be pushing that extra little bit to stay within 3 seconds if he wants that third podium position. So that's going to be a very interesting battle to watch in those gaps, as Lit Romney has retired in the pits. That's what the yellow flag in Sector 3 is for, but thankfully he's in the pits, as it's kind of due to his fellow racers, and that's not causing any other safety cars or VSCs, so good job from him. Tough race for Lit Romney. He's got quite a bit of incidents today, so tough for him, unlucky race. Not much he can do about most of those, from my perspective. Zamaglis still within that DRS, that 1 second DRS range to Gomez in second, and Beck within a second of Zamaglis. So as they would finish right now, even though Gomez would come second on track, that time penalty would put him down into fourth and off the podium. So he's going to have to really push these last few laps to extend that gap if he wants one of those podium positions. So those times, something to watch, certainly. Zenith has now closed up to the back of Bag of Bones on those soft tires. He's used up a lot of his battery too, trying to close gaps and make some overtakes. So he's going to have DRS, and he might be looking to make this overtake. There's going to be quite another gap ahead of him to Fuzz. So if he wants to finish in fifth, he's going to have to get this overtake done quickly, as Beck has picked up a 3-second time penalty for track limit violations, multiple warnings there, so that is going to throw his race off quite a bit. Janet's got DRS. Let's see. It looks like he's got the inside line. He's got the softer tires. There's not much Bag of Bones can do there to try to stick it around the outside. Not on those hard tires compared to the softs. But with the way penalties are going here, there's a lot that still could be at play, as Fuzz now is effectively in P4, I believe. Maybe even P3, depending on penalties. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on as well. Those last two podium positions really up in the air here, thanks to the time penalties that a few drivers have picked up. Looking down the field, Pusco is pushing hard to get past RC for 9th position, so he's going to have a point right now as it stands for 10th, but he wants to double that and get one more position. Andre Sousa, who's had a few incidents today, a couple of incidents with damage pointing the wrong way, he's in 11th. That gap of 8 seconds might be a little bit too much for him to close over these dying laps, but you never know, and those fresh tires might just help him, so that's something to keep an eye on as well. Looking up the rest of the field, though, it is Bag of Bones has been able to stay within 1 second of Zenith, so even though he lost the position, the advantage of that DRS might be helpful enough for him to gain a little bit of time on the drivers ahead. Fuzz very close now to Beck, so looks like Beck has fallen just outside of DRS of Zamaglis ahead, or he's very close to that 1 second range. It looks like Fuzz is doing a good job of closing that up. So this battle for these final two podium positions is going to come down to the wire. I'm just going to check race director real quick and see what the penalty situation's like. So it looks like Gomez does have a 3-second time penalty and another warning. Zamaglis just 1 warning so far, so a good clean race from him. Beck, we know, just picked up 1 time penalty and a couple other warnings. Fuzz, not a warning to be found, so good job from him keeping his race clean so far. Big lock up there from Beck. So now the calculation's going on in the driver's brain. Is it worth the overtake risk knowing that people have penalties around you? For Zamaglis, I would imagine his goal is just going to be to stay within a second and keep that DRS, because if he can do that, second step on the podium is his. For Gomez, he's going to be maybe thinking about his gap down to Fuzz, although I don't think he'll be able to see that, but that gap looks to be about 1.5 seconds, if my math is correct. Yeah, so with that 3-second time penalty, that would move Fuzz up into 3rd position after Beck's and Gomez's time penalties. Looks like Beck is trying to make the move on Zamaglis. couldn't go around the outside. Look how close those drivers are after 31 laps, despite safety cars and mistakes and battling from all those other drivers. Look how close they all still are. Second to fifth, very tight. Don't count Zenith out of this battle yet. He's got about 5-second gap, but that gap has been going down pretty rapidly. Looking down the field, Pusco was able to pass RC, so he has doubled his points from 1 point for 10th place to 2 points for 9th, so he's done a good job there getting that move done and recovering from an extra pit stop he had to make. Looks like that gap from Zamaglis to Gomez has just extended by a second to over a second now, so Zamaglis without the use of DRS. Beck going around the outside. Can he make that move stick? They're side by side going through the first sector. Zamaglis just has to get out of it. He just left enough space for Beck there. Good clean racing from both of them. Fantastic job. He had to leave just enough space there, and Beck took it well. So neither one of these drivers wanting to yield. And the advantage of this battling means that Gomez has extended that gap, and right now it looks like he would maybe be holding on to a podium position. It's all that gap from Gomez to Fuzz is the one to be watching, and it looks like it's just hovering around that 2 to 3 second range. So all of these four drivers battling for those last 2 podium positions are going to have to be pushing right up until the very last lap. If you're watching carefully, that gap from Zenith has gone down quite a bit again. It's less than 4 seconds now, but time is running out quickly, so if he wants to enter into this battle, that gap's going to have to close up quickly, but he might just be able to make them out a few corners ahead. Just as a reminder that Gomez and Beck each with time penalties, Zamaglis and Fuzz yet to pick up any penalties, so the order that they finish on track will, I would doubt, would be the order that they stay after penalties are applied. Fuzz looking like he's going to be making a move, and he does well to go up the inside. A little bit of a lockup, but that move is done. So Zamaglis just falling off that little bit, but he still has a chance of finishing on the podium thanks to the penalties ahead. So if he and Fuzz can keep it clean, if they can Fuzz with a little bit more battery, so if Fuzz can punch a hole in the air, and if Zamaglis can stay within his DRS, then he might still have a podium on here. Beck pushing really hard to get within that 1 second DRS range of Gomez ahead. All the while, Zenith, that gap from Zamaglis to Zenith, 5th to 6th, is less than 3 seconds, so Zenith might be entering into this battle as well. Very entertaining race from start to finish. A lot of drama. Barely mentioned Puppet Master. He's just been storming away out in front there. He's got a gap of 12 seconds, so he's kind of running a race of his own today. Let's go and feature him for a little bit. But he's kind of, as we've mentioned before, he's got a pole to Lewis Hamilton, where he was on pole, got out ahead, and has stayed ahead. So he's run a really good race despite that safety car period. he was able to overtake Zenith, who hadn't boxed yet, and extend that gap, and he's just stayed out of trouble. He's put in some very consistent laps, hasn't picked up penalties, and he's just run a great race. So if all things go as planned, he'll come home and with a pretty comfortable victory and well-deserved. So Gomez behind him. Beck has closed that gap within 1 second. Fuzz is a little over a second behind, and looks like Zamoglis, I don't know if he picked up damage or something, but he looks like he's struggling a little bit for pace, as he's now just on the verge of DRS from Fuzz in front. So don't know if he maybe picked up front wing damage from a battle that went on up there, but Beck gets a great launch out of that final corner. He's got DRS, he's got the slipstream, he doesn't have any of his ERS to use, and he's not going to be able to make that move. So on this last lap, Beck might have to get creative with how he chooses to overtake. All the while, Fuzz and Zamoglis need to be pushing right up until the end of this lap, because that might just mean them the podium. Zenith looks like he might be just out of reach. That gap is around 2 seconds, so if there was maybe 1 or 2 more laps in the Grand Prix, he might have been able to get back up into that podium fight. But still a great race from him, running the reverse from 11th, and it looks like he will be finishing in 6th position. But Beck, within half a second, there's one more DRS zone, one maybe last place he can make a lunge if he gets a good enough exit here, so no threat from behind. Let's see what his exit's like here. He's critical on fuel, and he gets a little bit wide there. So he is going to have to just resign himself to be finishing 3rd on track. We'll see what that position is like after penalties. Fuzz looks like he will get a podium position. The gap is going to be super close to Zamoglis, but it looks like he might just lose out, as he, not like I said, not sure if he picked up damage or if just ran out of something towards the end, but as they all cross the line, it looks like it is Fuzz in 2nd place, Gomez in 3rd, Zamoglis in 4th, Beck in 5th, Zenith in 6th. A couple of drivers still yet to finish, but congratulations to Puppet Master once again. His lead at the end of the race, 16 seconds to 2nd position, so a great race from him. Well-deserved victory. Fuzz did a great job from falling very far down the order on lap 1 to finish 2nd place, so a great recovery drive from him. Gomez, despite the penalty, does finish on the podium. So a great race from those three. Very different races for all of them, as Fuzz did very much a recovery drive. Puppet Master kind of a solo race, and Gomez was battling all race long. So very different for each of those 3 podium finishers, but congratulations to each of them, very well deserved. And looking down the rest of the order, it is Zamoglis in 4th, so he just was pushing but couldn't quite get that gap closed, and in the end it was about 7/10 of a second that he fell behind, excluding him from the podium, but still a great job to finish in 4th, being in battles all race long. Beck in 5th, Zenith, driver of the day in my opinion, going from 11th to 6th, gaining a lot of positions and doing a great job running the reverse strategy. It is Bagabones in 7th with another great recovery drive. Dylan in 8th, Pusco in 9th. He was able to get that move done, so doubles his points. Andre Sousa in 10th. RC looks like a time penalty just cost him a point in this race. Brandon in 12th, Lit Romney 13th, who did not finish, neither did Adri, Coxey, or Crucio. So 12 finishers and a very exciting 36 laps we just witnessed. Congratulations to Puppet Master, very well done. Fuzz and Gomez, congratulations on their podiums as well. Zenith did pick up that point for fastest lap, so congratulations to him. Yeah, very exciting race. EU tier, once again, did not disappoint. Next week, I believe, we'll be in Spain for the Spanish Grand Prix, so make sure you turn in next week, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Congratulations to all podium finishers as well as the rest of the field. It's been another exciting, entertaining race. We will see you guys next week.